Okay, so we're pretty much on 4 o'clock. So let's hit the ground running. And just to give you guys a bit of history about Tswalu. So it's a destination that I've been going sort of to back and forth over the last sort of 6 years or so. An incredible destination. I was fortunate enough to do some relief or freelance guiding there for about 3 years before joining Wildeye. And then since joining Wildeye, I think I've been back also a couple of times. Now with this whole COVID thing, we obviously, very limited in where we can travel and when we can travel. And a few of the lodges have been sort of open to us going to the lodges and just creating some content for them as well, because they don't always have the amount of guides that they normally would have if it was open for tourists. So to get that content out for them, but also for us to be able to get marketing material both for ourselves and for the lodges. These possibilities have sort of opened up over the last 2 weeks. And if you guys followed along, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we went to Sabi. And I approached some of the guys from Tswalu to see if they would be open to something similar, which thankfully they were. And, we had a phenomenal time and we're sharing some of those experiences with you. But let's get straight into it. I'm going to share my screen here and then just let me know if you guys can see it. Can everybody see that? If you can just hit me in the chat box and just let me know if you can see that's all okay. Yes, thanks Lucas, thanks Anne. Brilliant, thank you so much. Okay, now let's start off with Tswalu as a bit of a sort of a history on about the place. Now Tswalu it's in the Kalahari in the Northern Cape. I'm going to be showing you now soon where it is in relation to Johannesburg. But this particular area where Tswalu Game Reserve are now, this all used to be farmland. It used to be hunting farms and a lot of like sheep farming in the area. But, if you look at the area, the conditions can be quite harsh. So a lot of those farmers have sort of over time realized that, this is not working for them. And, they sort of sold the land to Tswalu over time. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Oppenheimer family, a very sort of famous family in South Africa. They started taking over Tswalu in the sort of early 1990s. I think it was 97, 98. They started taking that over. And the idea behind Tswalu was to try and bring the Kalahari back to what it originally was. Like it has been, I'm going to put sort of damaged in inverted commas because it's also people making a livelihood, but a lot of the areas got overgrazed. Like I mentioned, hunting was a big thing, and I'm not even going to get into the debate about hunting and conservation and those things. But the Oppenheimer family's goal now is to bring the Kalahari back to what it originally was, and by doing so, purchasing more land, and today it's the largest private game reserve in Africa. So it's a massive property and truly spectacular. Hannah said the content you guys created last week was just incredible. Hannah, thank you so much. That really means the absolute world. That is super kind of you to say that. Right, so let's get into it and just show you sort of where Tswalu is in relation to Johannesburg. So it's in the Northern Cape. So Africa, it's almost on the Namibia border. So this was actually the first time that I drove from Johannesburg into Tswalu. If you go visit Tswalu as a destination now, there are direct flights from Johannesburg and also from Cape Town straight into Tswalu, and then also back to Johannesburg or Cape Town. It's usually from Johannesburg, it's about an hour and a half's flight. In the Tswalu airplanes, they've got quite a few PC-12s or Pilatus aircrafts, very comfortable. But the drive took us about 7 hours from Johannesburg, and it's I won't lie, you drive through sections, it's a dead straight road and absolutely sort of nothing happening along the way. So it was quite boring, but luckily the company made up for it. And this is like quite a typical summer scene in Tswalu, and the people often think of Tswalu or the Kalahari as a pure desert. Now Tswalu is not a desert as such. It is more, the biome is more arid savanna. So it means you've got quite a thick layer of grassland, and then predominantly acacias that make up the majority of the trees, the acacias, the camel thorns. There are also some bosquias, some shepherd's trees. So it's not just a case of, just plain desert. It's a lot more varied than that. You also see the mountain in the background there. So that's the Koranenberg on the eastern side of the park, and it runs sort of north-south across the park. And that was one of the things for me when I got to Tswalu for the first time. I never expected that mountain range to be there, and it is truly spectacular. I'll show you guys the last clip, which it always just takes my breath away. It is simply spectacular. And then you can also see just before those mountains is a bit of a dune. Now there's quite a few dunes, especially when you get to the western side of Tswalu, and these are all sort of windswept dunes that have been formed. So very more diverse than what people actually think it is. And like I mentioned, I mean, it's a massive, massive, massive piece of property. I speak under correction now, but I think it's around about 250,000 acres. So it's huge, and it's privately owned. And bear in mind, with that being said, there's only 2 lodges on there, both only owned by Tswalu. Only 2 lodges on there. One is Motsi, and I think they. Oh, I should know this. I'm speaking under correction here, but I think I'll show you. So that's the Motsi Lodge. I think they've got 9 or 10 rooms, if I'm not mistaken. And then the other sort of private villa that they have about sort of 45 minutes or an hour away from Motsi is called Takuni. Now Takuni's got 5 rooms. So if you're a family, it's perfect because you've got the villa all to yourself, 5 rooms with a sort of dining room in the middle. They're busy actually renovating it now, so we couldn't go in and take photos, but it's spectacular. Whichever place you stayed, either at Motsi or Takuni, absolutely incredible. I think if you're looking at going as a couple, then I think Motsi would be the better bet. But if you're going as a family or a group of friends, maybe 5 or 6 people, then two families, then Takuni is the absolute way to go. So there's another view of Motsi. You can see at the base of the mountain there, really, really beautiful. And what I like about it is it kind of blends into the environment. So it's not like an eyesore. You don't see it from miles away. So it blends into the environment really beautifully. I'm just going to have a look and see. Sorry, I just want to see there's a question that's come up here. So Kim says, the content you guys created while at Tswalu has got me flipping pumped to be there next year. I cannot wait. Kim, you're going to absolutely love Tswalu. I guarantee you that. Hannah said, I checked immediately the options to go there. I need to admit I was not ready for the prices. And I thought Pindo was the extreme. Please, can you comment on the price range and the reasons behind it? 100%, Hannah. Okay, so I was actually just getting to that now. So one of the things about Tswalu is it's a private experience, and it's experience that's based on your particular needs. So, if you had to go to any of the other lodges in South Africa, or actually in Africa as a whole, if you're going as a single traveler or as a couple, you would often then have to share a vehicle with other people, or if you wanted to have a vehicle all to yourself, you would have to pay quite a premium. Like majority of the time, on average, it's sort of between like $800 to $1,000 for the private vehicle per day. Whereas at Tswalu, if you travel by yourself or you travel as a couple, you automatically get that private vehicle. So everything at Tswalu is private, and it's so with the private vehicle comes your own guide, your own tracker, so you could really make the most of what you want to do during your time there. The other thing is also, I mean, you can feel free to chat to me. I'm going to try and share some of the options here. But anything that you want to do, you do there. So if you want to have the guys set up dinner for you on the top of a dune, they do that. If you want to do a drink stop in the middle of nowhere, they do that. If you want to, whatever it is, they are so focused on attention to detail and personal service. And yes, I mean, it is a lot of money, but you got to understand, you're paying for that exclusivity. So like I said, I mean, like this massive, massive game reserve. 250,000 acres, whatever it might be. I think the maximum amount of vehicles they have on there is about 10 or 12 vehicles. And that's unheard of. You do not get that anywhere else in the world. So you pay for that exclusivity as well. Like the majority of the times when I've guided there, you very rarely do you share a sighting with anyone. So the guys have got WhatsApp groups and they sort of decide where they go on a particular drive. But you have one vehicle that might go and sort of go look for wild dogs, one vehicle looking for cheetahs, one looking for meerkat and things like that. So you don't share it's not a case of, you find a cheetah and you like 15 or 20 minutes, you have to make space for the next vehicle to come in. There's none of that. If anything, you might share with one other vehicle. So that's partly what you pay for as well. And don't get me wrong, it's an incredible product, 100%. And hopefully now when I show you some of these photos and videos now, you can get an understanding of what it's all about. Guys, feel free to keep going with your questions. I see the questions there. I'm just going to go through the slides and maybe sort of later on, answer any of the questions that you might have. So here's, this is one of the trackers. This is David. He was one of our trackers there. The trackers, these guys are phenomenal. And I'll never forget, like before the wildlife group, before some of our team went to Tswalu, I raved about these trackers, and I just said how incredible they are. I mean, it's soft sand, so it is difficult to, the tracks don't have the details that they would in sand that's a little bit harder. But these guys, I mean, without them, these guys tracked pangolin for us. They track cheetahs, and they don't give up. These guys are the real deal. So this is one of our videos, and just following up on pangolin tracks one afternoon. And these guys, I mean, he's not just walking. I promise you now, he's looking at tracks. And I remember like Gerry and myself and some of the guys standing there like, I can't see anything. These guys are just too good, man.
Beautiful. Thanks, Bobby.
And I'm look at that landscape. So how it often works is the guys, often in the afternoons, when you're going and looking for pangolin and aardvark and these things, once the guys pick up tracks, the trackers will jump off. They'll then look for the tracks and try and find the pangolin, which it was in this case. And then you can then carry on with your drive. These guys have got handheld radios. And as soon as they find that pangolin, they will then call you to say you can come in. So you actually sort of maximize your chances by working two areas at once, which is really phenomenal. But these guys, you do sometimes get lodges where the trackers are, they'll just chuck a maintenance guy on there just for the sake of it, and just to make it look like the real thing. These guys, between these guys and the Shangaan trackers that you get and some of the lodges in the Sabi Sands, these guys are truly phenomenal, man. And without them, like, you wouldn't find half the stuff that you do. And this is again, walking through the thick sand. It can be quite tiring. I think we walked for about maybe like 45 minutes to an hour. One afternoon, we decided we want to be out there with the tracker and walk until we find this pangolin. And true as hell, there it was. We found it, and it really is incredible. And I think that's one of the things that I love about Tswalu as well, is you can get involved in these kind of things. It's not a case of just sitting on a vehicle and driving around every single corner and hoping for the best. You can actually get involved in this. And you ask the trackers, I mean, a lot of them struggle with a bit of English, so the guide can often translate to you what they're saying. But the amount of knowledge and the skill that these guys have is truly phenomenal. And I would highly, Kim, you going there next year, I would strongly encourage that. And I think you're going during that same time, August. It's a really good time for pangolin and aardvark. I'd really encourage you to, one of the afternoons, jump on the vehicle, out of the vehicle with these guys, get your guide to go with, and just follow these tracks with the trackers. It's a mind-blowing experience. And I think when you find that animal, then, especially if it's something rare like a pangolin, how many people I know of guides that have been guiding for 12, 15 years that have never done that. So it really is a privilege to be able to do something like that. This is also, again, just some of the guys on foot experience. This was actually with the aardvark. So it's a very different feeling, you know, being on foot with these animals. You aware a lot more of your surroundings. You got to make sure the wind is in the right direction. You got to make sure where you put your feet so you don't make a noise. So it's almost like a stalking type of photography, which I think is very refreshing. It's very unique. And again, you know, you don't have to do this all the time, but the fun in getting sort of these elements on your side is great. I mean, it really is sort of a refreshing experience. This wasn't slow-mo, so the guys don't really walk that slow. And then this was the result of that pangolin experience. I'm sure none of you guys can see my mouse. Just to the left of Gerry's head, that's the pangolin there. And yeah, I mean, just have a look at this. I mean, I can tell you now, there's nowhere in the world where you can do something like this. And we were laughing when we were sitting in the back of the vehicle, you know, because the guys would ask in the afternoons, okay, what do you guys want to go and do? And we'd say, let's go look for aardvark and pangolin. And they'll be like, sure, let's go. So, like, I've never heard of a place where you can go and look for aardvark and pangolin. And it was so refreshing for me to just to see how blown away the rest of the guys were. You know, all the guys have been guides at many different reserves and lodges, just to see, you know, their excitement and their sort of astonishment, like we're actually going out to look for an aardvark and pangolins in the afternoon. And you know, this kind of activity, especially like the aardvark and pangolin stuff, it's very much more afternoon sort of activity. In the mornings, they'll often be down in the burrows sleeping, and then in the winter months, so like I would say probably like June, July, August, it would be the best times to go. They would then get active quite early in the afternoon. I mean, we had some days from like 3 o'clock, the pangolins were out of the burrow. So if you're looking to experience like a lot of these sort of rare species, especially the pangolin and aardvark, I would say that June, July, August time in Tswalu is really, really good. And this is one of the images. I mean, look, it is quite tricky photography. I won't lie. Purely like the only thing is the grass, you know. So you got to wait between the patches of or clumps of grass. There are sometimes little gaps that open up, which then gives you sort of room to photograph through. Otherwise, you know, if you're lying on the ground, you've often got grass in your way. It can be quite tricky, but if you're patient and you stick it out, then success is on your side. And I mean, this is for me, like, I mean, if you guys have been on safari numerous times, you would know just how special this is. You know, like a lot of the times, and I've spoken to a few guides that have just started at Tswalu, and guys that have been, you know, guiding in the Kruger areas and things like that. And you know, the amount of times that they've seen pangolin, if at all, it's often maybe just a glimpse at night, or you know, just a few scales in the bush that you can make out that it's a pangolin. But to be able to get something like this, and we saw five different five pangolin sightings in four afternoons. So 2 of the pangolins we saw a couple of times, but yeah, 5 pangolin sightings in 4 days, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then, of course, the aardvark, probably the most bizarre looking animal on the continent, you know, that sort of long snout, the big ears. And it's also, you know, once again, you'll be driving around late afternoon and you'll be looking, they almost look like sort of termite mound, but you look for that movement. They often have their heads down feeding. They also feed on termites, similar to the pangolins. And so that's what you look for. It almost looks like this sort of moving termite mound. And then, I mean, these guys, they pretty much almost as blind as bats. You know, they've got very good hearing and a very good sense of smell. So if you've got wind direction in your favor and you're very quiet, you can get really close to these guys. And we had a couple of times when we got really close, and then when that wind turns and they pick up your smell, then they move off. So again, obviously if it's just you and the guide there, the chances of getting closer to it is a lot better, because we were six of us, and then plus the guide, so 7-8 people. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult to control the amount of noise and keeping the group nice and close together. So, but yeah, again, where can you go where you see aardvark in the day like this? It is simply phenomenal. Again, so you see what I mean about the grass and things. It can be quite tricky photography, but the rewards are so good when it does come out. So ideally, what happens, the way they approach it, especially because it's so dry now, when they're in a thicket or busy feeding, you don't approach right up close to them, because that stresses them out. They'll just go into a ball, or they might try and go into a burrow somewhere. So quite often you would wait for them to move out. You get the wind in your favor, and I mean, then sort of try and predict where they're going to go to, and then if you're lucky, they come into your direction, like this guy did. So you'll see there's often like clumps of thickets with trees. That's where they get the termites. So they'll feed from one of those clumps to the next. They'll move through them. So you can almost predict, you can see the general movement that they're going. You can almost like position yourself at the next clump, sit quietly, and then wait for them to approach you, which is the ethical way to do it. You don't want to go right up close to them and scare them off. But look at those nails in the front, big nails that they use for digging. And notice also how they almost lift those front legs up a bit. Let's just play that again. So you see how they almost lift those front legs up. Massive claws. It's simply amazing. Really amazing. I'm going to get to just get to some of these questions here before I fall too far behind. So Denise says, look where it is, in the middle of nowhere. Everything has to be flown in or driven in. There is a cost to this remoteness. 100%, Denise. So yeah, I think they get their food flown in, I think 2 or 3 times a week. So it's like fresh stuff regularly. They actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, or anyway, let's just put it this way. There's a Michelin star chef that's getting involved in Tswalu. I think that's about as much as I can say for the time being. But everything is just, it is class. It really is class. So look, you do pay for like a lot of that luxury and that exclusiveness, that private sort of, it feels like it's your own park. Very rarely do you see other people. So yeah, Denise, spot on. And also, the remoteness is also what you pay for. Marie, do they have horseback riding? Marie, they actually do. They do have horseback riding. We didn't go on a horseback because I think, first of all, we're not the most talented horse riders. Well, at least I'm just speaking for myself. But we had such a long list of things from a content point of view that we wanted to get done, that the horse riding was sort of like the last thing on our schedule. So, but yeah, they do have horseback safaris, and what they usually do it in the afternoons, and then they set up a drink stop for you as well. So it is phenomenal. It is spectacular to do. I've done it once. I love horses, but for some reason they're not very fond of me. So, but your horseback riding definitely a must do when you go to Tswalu. So Denise says, I'm a single person traveling next March. Will I need to share with a couple? Denise, no, not at all. You will have your own room, your own vehicle, everything to yourself. So that's again, that's what you pay for. Whereas, like I said, if you had to go on another safari anywhere else, and you're traveling by yourself and you want to have a vehicle all to yourself, that comes at quite a hefty fee. And like on average, around about $800 to $1,000 per day to have that. Whereas this is given to you free of charge. I mean, yeah, the rates, it is expensive, but you know what I mean. You get that vehicle free of charge. It comes with the tracker and then your own guide as well. Denise asks, can you see the Big Five at Tswalu? Is it a place for a first-time safari goer, or maybe someone who's already been on safari or seen the Big Five? Denise, so that they've got everything except elephants. So there are no elephants at Tswalu. They never naturally occurred there. They might have passed through there, many moons ago. But the rest of the wildlife is all at Tswalu. I would definitely say it's. I think if it's your first ever safari, I wouldn't just do Tswalu. I definitely combine it with something like the Sabi Sands. Again, very easy with direct flights and things. Very easy to combine. Or if you're looking to just do Tswalu, I would do it after you've been on a safari somewhere else before. And I think for a number of reasons, and I think you have to sort of understand, I think, how rare the aardvark and pangolin and things are to really appreciate it. Otherwise, I remember I guided someone at Tswalu a few years ago, and from the airstrip, one of the first animals he saw was an aardvark, and I was super excited. And he looked at this thing and he said, "It just looks like a big rat." So, yeah, you kind of you kind of have to understand how rare these animals are, and also I think you also have to understand how amazing the exclusivity is. To go to other lodges, and I won't say other lodges are busy, but it definitely doesn't have the space that you have at Tswalu. Did you have a Dylan Smith sighting, tour guy? Tour guy, I didn't. We drove past Dylan briefly. If you guys know Dylan, he does the Safari Live there now. I actually know Dylan from back in the day. So he's a great guy, very enthusiastic, and probably one of the best guys to sort of speak to Tswalu about, because he really has got amazing knowledge on that place. Denise asks here, chances of seeing pangolins and aardvark at the end of March. Denise, the chances are there for both of those, but it'll most likely be at night. So this stuff during the like the day that we had now, that's very much a sort of June, July, August kind of vibe. The summer months, you can get it, but it'll most likely be at night, the sightings. Okay. Okay, see another question. It looks amazing. Only I'm wondering who's the clientele, simply because of the price point. I hope it is real nature enthusiasts rather than just people who can afford it. I know from the experience that I had, it really was people that enjoy nature. And I think the way that Tswalu sort of markets, I think it is going to always attract the sort of nature enthusiasts. I don't think you're going to get just as we call the riffraff going through there. I don't think it's that kind of destination. Purely, first of all, the cost of it, but I also think like I said, the way they market it to their agents and the way the agents market it to their clients. I think it will always stay that sort of classy destination and attracting the right people. Okay, here's another special sighting for you guys. That's aardvark one afternoon. So this one was in a bit of long grass that makes it a little bit tricky, but as you can see, sometimes they do also pop through a bit of an open area, and then you like photographically, it is really great. This one had a bit of a battle, like very easy to identify that sort of slit in his ears. They don't normally look like that, but yeah, whatever happened to this guy, we actually walked into him a couple of days, and he was very relaxed. Got up right up close to us, very happy with our presence. But yeah, very odd looking creatures, eh? Also, there's quite a few well, two especially rare antelope that you don't get to see in many places. This is a roan antelope. It was introduced into Tswalu, so they've got quite a decent number of roan there, as well as sable. So the sables, Hannah, I see your question there. It's coming up. So the sable antelope, also a massive attraction. Just imagine, like, I mean, these big dunes that you have, and having sable on top of that, it is simply mind blowing. And I mean, another day we had sable on top of these top of the mountain on the rock. So photographically, once again, it's very unique, and not something you see sort of in many places. And then, I mean, the sunsets there, you get like these real sort of iconic shots. So these are oryx, very well adapted for those sort of dry, arid areas. And you also get springbuck there. You get some eland. There's tsesebe, there's red hartebeest, and then some of the smaller antelope, steenbuck, there's duikers. So yeah, I mean, the variety of antelopes is incredible, and also to see them in this kind of environment, in this kind of habitat, is very special. And I mean, this on top of the dunes, this is not a rare sighting. You get this quite often, and like when that sun glows, it is super, super special. Here we go, Hannah. And of course, I mean, these guys, I think these guys are probably one of the stars of the show for the majority of the team last week. They've got, I think, 3 or 4 groups that are of meerkats that are habituated to humans. This doesn't mean that they're tame, and this is something I quite enjoy about it. They don't jump on your head or on your lens or all over you. Which I know, like, it looks great and it might be a cool experience, but I still enjoy the animals keeping a bit of a distance. They do come up really close, which I'll show you in a video now. You can get really close to them, but without sort of any physical contact. So how? I mean, there are quite a few ways to go about viewing the meerkats, and the way that we chose to do it is to go early in the morning, so just before sunrise, get a bit of a sort of a time lapse of that sun coming up, and then waiting at these guys' burrows for them to wake up. So they've got a meerkat habituator, as they call it. And she will follow these meerkats every single day. So every morning, every afternoon, she'll follow them. And in the afternoon, she will see which burrow they go down. So if they go down and sleep there, they're not going to come out at night and sort of cruise around. So you kind of know that's the burrow where they went down. And then first thing in the morning, you wait at that burrow for them then to wake up and to get moving. So this is as they woke up. And I had my little Osmo pocket, sort of just put it there at the burrow, let it run, and then moved away, just so they don't get too spooked. So here's a little video for you. I agree, Hannah. It should be more about them ignoring you than any interaction. I agree with that 100%. And you can see with these guys, they almost sort of totally ignore you. They're happy with your presence, but there's no sort of interaction and touching them or jumping up. And they're not tame animals. They've become used to people being sort of that close. And I mean, they're so cool. This is them just waking up, just coming out of their burrow, and they've got these black tummies, which they sort of point towards the sun just to try and warm up a bit. They'll do that, and depending on how cold it was that evening or that particular morning. Once they've sort of warmed up and they feel they're ready to go, then they'll start foraging and looking for little grubs, scorpions and things like that. Here's Mike. I mean, you can see how close we got to them, just on the edge of the burrow. So you don't want to lie on top of the burrow, because then it's going to collapse, and then you just make their life a lot harder. So by just moving away, just a little bit away from the burrow, you can still get really close to them. You're not impacting their burrow system at all, and they're still happy with your presence. And I mean, something like this every morning, as long as you want. Andrew Dank was actually, I think he's become a meerkat addict because he wanted us to go for the third morning in a row. He basically begged us. He was on his knees begging us to go back to the meerkat. So if you guys chat to him, just ask him about his meerkat addiction. And again, you can see just at the bottom where these meerkats are, at the bottom you can see there's a hole there. So that's the little burrow. And in that burrow, it's all interlinked, right? So it's got like a tunnel system underneath. So you might have 6 or 7 different holes which they can pop out of. So it's very much luck of the draw. You just got to wait there. I think the one morning we waited for about an hour, almost an hour and a half for them to get up. They were very lazy. But it is so special, man. It really is cool to spend time with them. Here's a little video. So again, this is not the burrow. So here, this little guy was digging for grubs, and it's amazing how well these guys dig. You know, like they might be looking for like millipedes or larvae, even scorpions sometimes. So have a look at this. Super close, man. Look at that little guy digs. And the guys absolutely loved it. Like I mentioned, they they couldn't get enough of it. So Hannah asked, do they have lions in Tswalu? If yes, how come you can be on foot so freely? Hannah, okay, so that's a good question. So the answer is yes, that they do have lions at Tswalu, but with Tswalu, they've got a main road, so a provincial road running through the park. So that all happened before it became a private game reserve. So you're not going to stop it now. So Tswalu's got property on both sides of the main road. It's a gravel road, so it's not a tar road that you hear. And that's about, I think it's about 50 or 60,000 acres. So the lions on that side. So they separate from these areas that we're walking now, which is actually great. It's there have been talks, I know, in the past of should they put lions into the main reserve as well. And then, like you say, a lot of these experience will then be taken away from that. And I think, again, this is my personal view. I'm of the impression that, or of the opinion that, you can find lions anywhere. You can go to Kruger or Madikwe, all of these places to see lions. You can't go anywhere to be on foot with things like pangolin, aardvark, and like these meerkats. So, I think it's a very fine balance, but I think the way that they've got it now, by having the lions, and it's not like the lions are in an enclosure or anything at all. The area where the lions are in is bigger than a lot of private game reserves in South Africa. So they've got their own, the animals there like breed freely, they hunt, everything is 100% as natural as it can possibly be. So yeah, that's why we could walk so freely. And they do have rhinos as well. So there's white rhinos, and there's also desert black rhinos that they have in Tswalu. Okay. Here are the lions. So this is one of the cool things at Tswalu now recently is they've recently just purchased one of the, a photographic vehicle. Now, one of the things that we did during our time here is to take a video of the photographic vehicle for them, and also just to put it through the test. So this is Jono lying on the ground. And you can see just, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but where that beanbag is positioned, there are little flaps in the vehicle. So when you carry on driving, those flaps fold up and the vehicle closes up as a normal game viewer. But when you get to a sighting, and to be honest, we only really used it with these lions because for the majority of the other sightings, we were on foot. And so with these lions, we decided to put this to the test, and it's phenomenal. Really enjoyed it. And the lions, I think it's important to understand that you gotta look at what the behavior of these animals are like before you do something like this. So we spent probably about an hour or two with this pride of lions. and then eventually decided, let's drop the flaps. They were comfortable with our presence. So we dropped his flaps and managed to get some eye level stuff. And then this happened. So really incredible. And you can see the difference also. I mean, the seat is just to the bottom left of the screen. So, you know, you can see the height advantage that you get. You know, obviously from a photographic point of view, being so nice and low, you get that eye level shot. It makes a massive difference to your photography. So that's one of the things I was really impressed by with that photographic vehicle. Also, the nice thing about it as well is that, like, the front row is a single seat and it can swivel. So you can rotate 360 degrees. So from a photographic point of view, very easy. And it's also got a pole then to mount your camera on. So it's super easy, very well thought out, and definitely something that we're going to be making use of when we go to Tswalu. I think I'm going there next year, June, July. So yeah, really excited to put that to the test a little bit more. But that is a fantastic little extra that they've brought to the party. And then this one, yeah, I'm actually not allowed to share this with you guys because this is for the video that we're putting together. But I'm going to do it anyway because I think it's super cool. We did get permission to do some drone footage there as well. And one of the things that they do at Tswalu is they've got quite a few sleep out spots. This is one of the newest sleep out spots. It's called Milady. I wouldn't do this in winter because you're going to freeze. But in summer, you'll have a look. They set up the beds for you. There's a flush toilet there, coffee in a flask, you name it, and wake up to this view. Have a look at this. Imagine waking up there with a cup of coffee. It is simply breathtaking. In the middle of nowhere. And like I said, this area here, there are no lions there, so you don't have to worry about lions. There are leopard up in the mountains, but they still, in vehicles they're fine, but you know, with humans they are still quite shy. And here's a different look at what it looks like. It's hard to think of a better place to wake up in the morning, man. It's simply breathtaking. Like I said, very much more like a spring or summer activity, because I think in winter, those winter mornings in the Kalahari are freezing. All right, well, that's pretty much it. Let me get to these questions here. I just want to make sure I've answered all of them. Okay, so Marie asks, would you suggest Tswalu if you're mainly looking for meerkat? 100%. There are other places. There's Jack's camp in the Mahari, but you know, I think Tswalu is going to give you like more variety. And I mean, if you want to go every single morning and go do meerkats, you can. So I generally prefer to do the meerkats in the morning. You can do them in the afternoon as well, as you sort of watch them go down into the burrow. But I love spending time with them first thing in the morning as they're waking up. Because you also, you know, once they start, when they're foraging and they're moving around, it can be quite tricky to stay with them because they move very fast and also quite big distances for such small animals. So yeah, I'd prefer in the morning and then watch them wake up and spend time with them. Okay, so Denise says, this is why I selected Tswalu for the lesser seen animals. I've been on safari since 1986 and love the big five, but it's time to branch out. This is wonderful. Denise, I couldn't agree more. And it's also, you know, like I just mentioned, like the rare species now. They do have wild dogs. They've got wild dogs that are in the Boma at the moment, which are being released again soon. Quite a few of them died from canine distemper and like rabies, these sort of diseases. But they have got a pack in. They're hoping to release them by October, November. So there's opportunity of seeing wild dogs there. There's a very healthy cheetah population there. And with a lot of the cheetahs as well, they do allow you, if you know, certain coalitions or individuals, to also get off the vehicle and approach them on foot. So that in itself as well is very, very unique. Puja asks, are meerkats intelligent? I think they are. I think they're pretty intelligent animals. They definitely seem to sort of know what they're doing. So I'd say they're very intelligent, yeah. Is Walt going to start doing trips with guests to Tswalu? Denise, absolutely. We're doing it already. We're not doing scheduled trips to Tswalu though. So, and the main reason behind that is, you know, to try and get availability is really, really tough. So if for private guided safaris, 100%. I think I've got 2 there, private trips there next year. They were supposed to be this year. And I think we've also got about 2 or 3 general travel trips going in there. So definitely a destination that we've been using, but we won't do it from a scheduled safari point of view, just because there is quite a lot of pressure. You kind of need to get dates, book and go, because otherwise it gets filled up. Even now, I'm looking now for next year, June, July, August. And I think there's about 2 days in total, like 2 or 3 nights in total that can work. But otherwise, very, very difficult to get availability. I would highly recommend to look at least a year in advance if you're looking to go to Tswalu. They have got quite a few like specials going out quite often as well. So if you guys are keen to explore Tswalu, hit me up. My email, johan@wildeye.co.za, and they often have these little sort of stay 6, pay for 5 nights, stay 5 nights, pay for 4. These kind of deals happening every now and then. And because we've got such a good relationship, maybe we'll be able to swing something for you guys. Yeah, let's see what other questions we got here. So many places and so little time and money. Muri, 100% couldn't agree with you more, man. The more you start traveling to these places, the more you start realizing that there's so many other places to go and see. All right, I'm going to give it another couple of minutes. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to give me a shout. But I hope that this was a nice little teaser for you and just gives you a little bit more of an insight of what Tswalu has to offer. And yeah, and I think, you know, the highlight for me last week was with our guys that have sort of that went with us. It was all of their sort of first time. Just seeing, I mean, Gerry, Jono, Andrew, Mike, Trev. I mean, the guys have traveled to many, many different parks all over the world. You know, it's and you could really see sort of how blown away everyone was. So I think that for me puts it into perspective. If you have guides that have guided all around and have, you know, hosted safaris all over the world, to still get that sort of level of excitement and to still be blown away like that, I think is something really, really special. Any add-ons possible? Dennis asked. Dennis, 100%. I was actually saying to the guys, it is so easy to add anything on there. So, you can fly into the Sabi Sands. You can fly back to Johannesburg, and then from there you can do Botswana, you can do Zambia, you can do Zimbabwe, and it's also, you know, that the time where that, if you want to focus on those rare species, the pangolin, aardvark, at June, July, August, you know, that's prime game viewing time. So you can fly Bots, Zambia, Zimbabwe. You can even fly to Kenya. That's the time where the Great Migration starts, that July, August period. So you can go anywhere. And like I said, there are direct flights into Johannesburg, into Cape Town. So, I mean, you can even do, there are many different options. You can do a safari, whether it be Zambia or Sabi Sands or Masai Mara, fly into Johannesburg overnight, fly into Tswalu the next day, spend some time there, and then from Tswalu fly into Cape Town, do the wine tour, and then back home from there. So many options. But yeah, hit me up on my email. I'll send my email just to be sure. If you don't have my email yet, I'll just put it down at the bottom for you. Feel free to ask questions there as well. Yeah, if you have any questions about Tswalu and what to link it up with, there's many different options. Okay, it looks like that's all the question. I'm surprised to see Sable there. Associate them with Maomba water places. Am I wrong? Tuga, you're not wrong. And they are sort of more in the Maomba woodland areas, but I think that the Sables in Tswalu is sort of more as like a breeding project, and they've just done really well there over the past few years. So they do like that sort of that grassland area as well, as long as the grass is not sort of too long. You know, they're not a fan of that. But with shorter grass, then they seem to be fine with that. Okay, looks like that's all the questions. Is poaching a problem for the pangolins? Marie, yeah, I think poaching with pangolins is a problem all over. The thing that Tswalu does really well is that they've invested a lot of money into the anti-poaching. They've got helicopters on site. They do regular patrols from that point of view. And they also have like a pangolin researcher, believe it or not. And she goes and follows pangolins on a daily basis. I think she's tagged about, I think, 5 or 6 pangolins that she's tagged now. So they've got these little transmitters that they put just in front of the tail, and which allows her to follow them on telemetry. And I mean, some of the research that's come out of there is simply phenomenal. You know, stuff that you haven't heard or seen of anywhere else. But yeah, they're very much committed to conservation, and you know, like they've got incredible teams in place to deal with that kind of stuff. Dennis, I'll send my email through to you. Let me just see if I've never actually tried this. Just write that. And Dennis, just let me know if you've received that. Marie, the research is very much still, I won't say a hidden thing, but if you go to Tswalu's website, they have got some of the things on there. So go and have a look at Tswalu's website. I think it's tswalu.com, if I'm not mistaken, or even just Google Tswalu Game Reserve or Tswalu Kalahari, and it will come up there. All right, guys, thank you so much for all your engagement. This has been really cool. I love the interaction. I love the excitement. And I hope that you guys have been sort of inspired by a new destination. It's a place that we haven't shown much of, but I'm sure that's going to change now, especially with some of the things we did last week. I think we're going to be sharing a lot more of that in the future. But thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, hit me up on my email, johan@wild-eye.co.za, or you can send me a DM on Instagram, Johan van Zyl Photography. Happy to answer any questions that you might have there. Otherwise, that's it from me. Wherever you are in the world, have a great evening, a great morning, or a great afternoon, and we'll catch you again in the not too distant future. Cheers for now.